Welcome back. All right, so I want to talk about Cale Makar. I want to talk about Quinn Hughes, two of the best defensemen in the NHL. And anytime you talk about best defensemen in the NHL, you lead to a lot of arguments. You have a lot of people saying, well, they get points, but they don't really play defense, which in this case is untrue. Cale Makar is one of the best all-around defensemen in the league, if not the best, and Quinn Hughes has definitely improved defensively since he made his debut back in the 2018-2019 season. But these two players are being compared a lot, and I did see requests yesterday for me to compare them, so let's go ahead and wade into this discussion as well as I can. Unlike yesterday's Hart, where it feels like, you've just got these two players that are right now neck and neck for that race, whether it's Kucherov, whether it's McKinnon. With defense, it doesn't feel quite as unanimous. So I had to put a few other defensemen on the board that, yes, are the top scoring defensemen, because that does turn a lot of heads, right? Last year, Erik Karlsson had a ridiculous season offensively. He was leaned on a lot by the Sharks because they didn't have a whole lot else other than him. And I think it helped lead him to the best point totals of his career this year in Pittsburgh. It has not been the same. Pittsburgh does not rely on Karlsson the same way. So, yeah, there's a definite correlation there to Karlsson's numbers dropping in Pittsburgh. Now, Cale Makar, number 4 draft pick in 2017. Cale Makar at the time, it's interesting because that's a draft lottery that Colorado loses, but I think they're okay with that. I feel like Cale Makar's been pretty good for them, so I don't think they're that upset about it. Quinn Hughes was a number 7 pick in 2018 by Vancouver. There was a team drafting ahead of Vancouver, which allowed Quinn Hughes to drop into their laps, and Canuck fans will forever be grateful for that. But these two defensemen this year are close in terms of stats, but I wanted to look at their careers in general. So this is a little different than yesterday's video as well. So 2019-2020 is where Cale Makar comes in and plays 57 games, 12 goals, 38 assists, 50 points. He wins the Calder Trophy, and he's 9th in Norris voting. So right out of the gate, Cale Makar fits in. There was a seamless transition to the National Hockey League game. 2020-2021, he plays 44 games, 8 goals, 36 assists, 44 points. Finishes 2nd in Norris voting. He's a first-team All-Star. 2021-2022, 77 games played, 28 goals, 58 assists, 86 points. Wins the Norris Trophy. Conn Smythe as well, as Colorado wins the Stanley Cup. He's the MVP for that, and he's a first-team All-Star. So Cale Makar already at that point, a guy that you could argue, so Hall of Fame then, right? So Conn Smythe, Norris, sure. 2022-2023 plays 60 games, 17 goals, 49 assists, 66 points. And what was considered to be a bit of a down year, bit off for him. He was only 3rd in Norris voting, and he was a second-team All-Star. And so that's the standard that he's at. Now this year in 47 games, 13 goals, 47 assists, 60 points. He is 2nd in scoring amongst defensemen in the NHL. He plays 25 minutes and 1 second per game. Plays a lot of hockey. So his career, he's got 285 games played, 78 goals, 228 assists, 306 points. And this season, he has 89 block shots and 23 hits. He's not an overly physical player, but he's not shy about blocking shots. He does come back and play defense, which is one thing I've seen people say about Makar. Oh, he's not very good defensively, telling me they don't watch a lot of Cale Makar hockey. If he coughs up the puck in the offensive zone, he will skate back and he will make the back check necessary to bail out his own mistake. Now, on the Quinn Hughes side, he comes into the league in 2018-2019, plays 5 games with the Canucks that season, had 3 assists. And it was obvious right out of the gate that Vancouver had themselves something special here. Colorado has had defensemen of the elite variety, I want to say dating back to when they were the Nordiques. The Canucks have not had a lot of elite-level defensemen. They've had Jovanovski. They've had a few other really good defensemen, but that elite-level defenseman, Quinn Hughes, is that first that's been drafted by the team, developed by the team, and really looks like he could be the best defenseman in the league at some point during his career. 2019-2020, his first full season, 68 games, 8 goals, 45 assists, 53 points. Finishes 2nd in the Calder vote to Cale Makar. And this is where, for Canuck fans, that tie-in starts, right? Like, okay, yeah, he had more points, he played fewer games, and the argument over who's really better kind of gets started there. 2020-2021, he plays all 56 games that year, 3 goals, 38 assists, 41 points. Bit of a struggling season for Hughes that year. I remember a lot of complaints about his defensive game, but Hughes has really done his best to get a lot better, and it feels like the 2021-2022 season, he hits that next level. 76 games, 8 goals, 60 assists, 68 points. He's not top 10 in Norris voting because, of course, a lot of people remembering, and I really feel like the media does cover the Eastern teams more than the Western teams. I do feel like they've been slow to acknowledge Hughes getting better defensively and likely remembered some of his gaffes earlier on. Then last season, 2022-2023, 78 games, 7 goals, 69 assists, 76 points. He finished 9th in Norris voting last season. Now, the one thing with Hughes was he wanted to get the goal scoring going. Last year, he made it very clear he wanted to reach double digits in goals. He didn't. But this year, he has 51 games, 12 goals, 52 assists, 64 points. He is first in scoring amongst defensemen. Yes, he has played 4 more games than has Cale Makar and has 4 more points than Cale Makar. So they're scoring right about the same rate. 24 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time on average for Hughes, so he plays a little bit less than Makar. Makar, I believe, plays a little more in every situation for Colorado than maybe Hughes does. But in 334 games with the Canucks, 38 goals, 267 assists, 305 points. He's going to rewrite the record books with Canucks defensemen. I think he'll do it in goals, in points, and maybe if he plays long enough games played too, right? So fingers crossed that he stays in Vancouver. 35 block shots, 16 hits. So a less physical game, less shot blocking, although the Canucks are not one of the big shot blocking teams in the NHL anyways. But you can use that as an argument for why Makar's a better all-around defenseman than Quinn Hughes. I don't get stuck on the argument of who's necessarily better between the two. I mean, if I was going to pick one for a team and I'm a GM right now and you say, all right, you can pick Makar, you can pick Hughes, I'm probably taking Makar. And it's not, I am taking Makar, but it's not as an insult to Quinn Hughes or throwing any kind of damper on what he's able to do. It's just Makar being the best. It's not far off from, McDavid and what he can do out on the ice, or Matthews as a goal scorer. You may have other players that are close and similar in style and all of that, and maybe in levels of talent, but again, for me, there are just certain players that are at the top. And on the blue line, to me, that's Makar. Now, you can make the argument that Noah Dobson should be a finalist for the Norris if the voting was today. 51 games for the Islanders, 7 goals, 46 assists, 53 points. Any defenseman getting above a point per game playing for the Islanders deserves serious consideration for the Norris Trophy. And I say that knowing full well that Dobson's point per game pace is behind Quinn Hughes and behind Makar, but the Islanders don't score like the Canucks or the Avalanche do, so there may very well be some voters once we get to the end of the season, if Dobson keeps this up, that say, you know what? Dobson maybe deserves a second place vote. Maybe the odd first place vote gets in there. But Victor Hedman has experienced a renaissance after a down year last year offensively. 50 games, 9 goals, 42 assists, 51 points, which is great because Sergachev's been injured for much of this season, so they need that production from the blue line. And Josi, offensively, he's there. 51 games, 10 goals, 35 assists, 45 points. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the MVP for Nashville throughout the season. And if they make the playoffs, it may very well be in part due to what Yosi's able to do for them on the blue line. I still think that it's going to come down to Makar and Hughes at the end. And I do get the feeling that if the vote was today, Makar may very well still end up winning that Norris vote. I think it would be close, though. I think you'd have a lot of votes maybe going towards Hughes, and it might be split. But again, Dobson could play spoiler here. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts. And obviously, there are defensive defensemen that don't get into this conversation. We've talked about the need for a Rod Langway award. I believe that that's valid. I think that we do need an offensive defenseman, a defensive defenseman award. We have MVP, we have scoring, which is usually forwards, right? And then you have your defensive forward award, your Selke. I don't see any reason why we can't have a Langway award for best defensive defenseman. So, at any rate, that's a whole argument for another time. But at this point, it definitely seems like Makar and Hughes, it's between the two of them. And again, for me, I would likely go with Makar. That's why I picked a neutral jersey, though. I thought, I'm not going to wear my Quinn Hughes jersey. I'm not going to wear Avs for this. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts. If you're starting a franchise right now, are you starting it with Makar or are you starting it with Hughes? And again, I don't feel like Quinn Hughes gets underrated as much now by media as he did, say, 3 or 4 years ago. It's still there from some, absolutely. We'll see how the Norris vote ends up going. If they keep this up, I'd be very surprised if the Norris vote isn't close to split. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and your predictions on that. I mean, obviously Hughes, his scoring has dropped off from where it was at the start of the year, but we knew he wasn't very likely to end up at 100 points, and right now he's on pace for maybe about 90, which is still fantastic, right? But yeah, I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Do hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hey, it's not hating to pick one over the other. I think both defensemen are excellent, but let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.